You deserve my attention. You can have every thought inside my mind. You deserve my devotion. Lord, you are everything.
One of the sayings that hardworking students know best is sleep is temporary, but GPA is forever. In high school, my life revolved around this principle. I worked to succeed in everything I did, in academics, in athletics, and at work. I believed that the only goal of high school should be to get into a good college, and in order to do that, I had to have a perfect, well-rounded college application. I found my identity in academic success in particular, and prided myself on always taking AP classes and getting straight A's. All this was attainable for me until my senior year of high school. Taking my hardest classes yet, in combination with college applications and extracurriculars, put me in way over my head. I spent senior year constantly stressed out and worried, struggling to simultaneously achieve my desired grades and turn in college apps on time. I stayed up extremely late every night, barely had chance to spend time with friends, and found myself constantly walking the halls alone and depressed. My pursuit of personal success brought me to a really dark place, a place that I never want to return to again. Fall and winter of my senior year were some of the worst times of my life. After I got into Duke, I happened to meet everyone here at McNew, and I began exploring Christianity. As background, I grew up in a non-religious home, and I didn't go to church as a kid. My parents raised me with Christian morals, but we didn't practice any religion. Also, growing up, I'd always believed there was a God, but I never knew for sure, and I'd never made the time to find out. And coming from the liberal Bay Area, my view of Christianity had been colored by a lot of negative stereotypes. Before, I thought Christians were largely uneducated and didn't believe in evolution, and I thought church services were stiff, liturgical, and boring. However, through exploring the Bible during Friday night Bible study, I began to realize just how wrong these views were. I found that there was a lot of deeply relevant truth in the Bible, and contrary to being bored, I found myself very interested in hearing more. I began to discover all the historical and scientific support behind Christianity, and I came to understand that it was not only possible, but probable that God exists, that what the Bible says is true, and that Jesus was truly resurrected. Eventually, I came across the problem of sin. The Bible claims that Jesus died on the cross for all humanity, and that his death was necessary to pay the price for all human sin. At first, I didn't understand why this needed to happen. I had generally always thought of myself as a decent person. I didn't lie much, I tried to be nice, and I didn't kill or fight anyone. I didn't see why sin was a problem for me, and why it was serious enough that an innocent man needed to die for it. As time went on, I came to understand that sin is not just envy, murder, and lust, but these outward manifestations of sin actually come from within, from our own individual distance from God's righteousness. Although I thought I was a good person, I ran into a problem. The more I paid attention to my own behavior, the more I realized that there were a lot of inconsistencies in my actions. Even though I believed in fairness, forgiveness, and love, I would find myself judging others, holding grudges, and being selfish. No matter how hard I tried, I would always do the things I believed to be morally wrong, and I couldn't stop myself. This made me realize that despite my good intentions, there was something broken inside me that I could not fix. I couldn't save myself from my own sin. Eventually, as the semester went on, I reached a point when all of my intellectual questions had been satisfied, and I had to make a choice. When I came face to face with a decision, I felt very afraid to commit to Christianity. If I accepted Jesus, there were a lot of implications for my own life. I couldn't simply do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. Instead, I would have to follow God's plan for my life and always keep him and his kingdom in mind. I knew that following God would be hard and that I would sin and fail over and over again. I knew I could never become sinless, and I was afraid of what would happen if I were forced to take responsibility for my own actions. Despite my initial fear, I thought it over, and I came to the conclusion that accepting Jesus was the only reasonable choice. I had already come to believe that God exists, that Jesus died for my sins, and that he was truly resurrected. The only choice left then was to accept or reject his forgiveness. If I chose to reject Jesus out of fear, I would have to flee from the reality that confronted me. I could live the rest of my life pretending it had never happened, but eventually I would still die and face judgment. If I had decided to do this, it would have all been for nothing. Instead, I repented of my sin and committed my life to Jesus. I decided to live my life for God, for something that truly matters, something that will not just exist for 70 or 80 or 90 years, but for all eternity. Now that I've become Christian, I try not to simply live for myself. While I still study and work hard in school, I keep the greater spiritual reality in mind, that there are much more important things in life than midterms and homework. I've continued exploring the Bible and growing in my relationship with God through Friday night Bible studies, Sunday service, and daily devotion time. I found that as I grow in my faith, God is more present in my everyday decisions, and I do my best to let His Word guide my actions. I no longer find my fulfillment in my own academic success. Now, I try to prioritize my relationships with other people instead of just my own studies. It can be really hard sometimes, but whenever I'm tempted to recede into myself, I remember that senior year of high school. I remember where my unchecked pursuit of personal success got me and how empty that life felt compared to the new one that I have now. As I struggle to live for others, I'm constantly reminded by how hard it really is and how much of a sinner I really am. Finally, I hope to share the gospel with those close to me, to give them the chance to see the truth about our existence that I've come to understand. I used to live by the code, sleep is temporary, but GPA is forever. But now I know the truth. In reality, GPA is temporary, but people are forever. You can't take the successes of this world with you when you go. The only things you can save are the people that are around you.
You take me back to my first love. You show me who I was made for. Now
Jordan, you're my brother in Christ. I now baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Lord, you take me back to my first love. You show me who I was made for. Now I am found in your freedom, in the love of the Father.
So, yeah, if you try to put your GPA on your second job, you'll probably get laughed at.